This weekend, Disney released its newest Pixar film, Luca, straight to Disney Plus, just like its last one, Soul, did. Now, some of you probably know, if you watched my Soul review, that I wasn't a huge fan of it. I mostly because I was so disappointed by it, because I'd seen so many reviews saying it's this huge masterpiece and everything, and I was just really disappointed. Same problem I had with Inside Out, ironically, where people were saying it's one of the greatest Pixar films ever made. It's this huge masterpiece. I'm like, is it? But the difference is Luca didn't really get this distinction because, one, it had very little marketing, which shocked me, and two, the reviews have still been really good, but they weren't nearly as favorable as Soul. The tomato meter was still in like the 90s, but Soul was up at like 97, and all the reviews were saying how much of a masterpiece it was, how it was flawless, and Luca, most of the positive ones were like, yeah, it's pretty good, and then there were some that are just like, this is not, ironically, Pixar quality, even though this is a Pixar film. So, I gave it a watch last night, and yeah, I understand where both sides are coming from. This, as far as Pixar films go, it's kind of a letdown, but as far as animated films themselves go, it's fine. So, some things you know are going to be good because it's a Pixar film. The animation looks fantastic, and the voice acting is very good. But that's not really where my problems lie. My main problems lie in the story and its writing. The story is, not only is it kind of very formulaic, but it has some major issues. For example, nothing really happens for a while. Now, okay, so the main plot is that Luca is the sea monster, and when the sea monsters, are not wet, when they get wet, they turn, into their actual selves, but when they're not wet, when they're completely dry, they turn human. For one thing, this is never explained, and I don't know why this is how it is. But, so, that's all that's a lot, but then, not only that, but the sea monsters, refuse to let Luca go to the surface, go anywhere near the surface, kind of like Finding Nemo, more I think about it. But in this one, Luca isn't captured by humans. He goes off with this new friend of his named Alberto. And I do have to point out that this takes place in Italy with very few Italian voice actors. You know what? I don't care. There's so much people that'll call racist at so much stuff. I don't give a shit. I don't care who voice acts who, as long as the voice acting is good. And the voice acting is very good. I like Jacob Tremblay, who plays Luca. I've seen him in he's been in a lot of, stuff for, he's been in a lot of stuff for, that you may not have heard of or may have heard of. He was in Wonder, he was in The Book of Henry, that was awful. He was in the Shining sequel, Dr. Sleep, for, 5 minutes. So, and then you have Jack Dylan Grazer, who plays Alberto, who you might know as, he was in the It movies, and he was Freddy in Shazam. That's at least what I know him from. He might have been, if he is in other stuff, I can't think of it off the top of my head. But, so he's actually very good as Alberto here. So, again, the voice acting is not the problem. My major problems are is with the story. The story just feels rehashed from every single one of these types of films you've seen. The writing is not exactly stellar, and the plot has very little momentum. Luca goes up to the surface. Him and Alberto start hanging out 20 minutes into the film. This is a really short movie, too. It's an hour 40, and that's with the long-ass credits that Disney Plus has, with all the extra stuff for all the dubbing and bullshit. So, without credits, it's probably about an hour 28, I want to say, maybe. Something like that. So, it's a short movie. And him and Alberto start hanging out around the 20-minute mark. Maybe even less. But, then they go into the city, and Luca, runs away, all within the first half hour. And then, basically the rest of the film is they meet up with this girl, and they start working for this race at the end, and the parents start looking for Luca, eventually. So, Yeah, there's not a lot of urgency here. There is some tension to where Luca and Alberto, there are times when they're almost spotted in like their sea creature form, and at times that can get a laugh. The humor is okay at times. There are times where it falls completely flat, but it gets some decent jokes at it, and the groaners don't make you groan that bad. So, and then there's this villain-ish guy, more of an antagonist, really. I don't remember his name. He's this Italian douchebag, and not only is he a dick, because that's fine, but he is basically criminal at this point. Not only does he verbally abuse people, but that's not a... But he also gets into crimes such as thievery and child abuse. Yes, really. This guy is just your stereotypical douchebag. He's no different from Francesco from Cars 2. And honestly, I think this guy might be worse because he's literally criminal at this point. So when you see the guy punching, like, a kid who's, like, supposed to look like, I don't know, 12 or something, even though he is a sea monster, it doesn't matter. He thinks he's a human kid. When you see him punching a human kid multiple times, that's where my enjoyment kind of stops. Because this guy's, like, fine. At first, it's like, yeah, it's just this guy, he has to be here. But then, I just completely didn't want to see him anymore. And I just couldn't stand this guy. And even in the way they wanted me to, I couldn't do it. So, and again, like, Disney's been doing this thing a lot, where at the end of the film, they like to split up their main characters. They did it with Ralph Breaks the Internet, then they did it with Toy Story 4, and then they did it with Frozen 2. And then Luca does this at the end, where they have the two main characters split off. This one, it makes more sense, at least. But I feel like we've gone through this road so many times, I wanted a different ending for these kinds of films. Like, Soul kind of did the same thing, where the two main characters go their own separate ways, sort of. And I'm so sick of... This is turning cliche at this point. There's not a lot to talk about with this movie, I'm just realizing now, but... I think that... And that's another fault to the film, is that it's kind of dull. The animation and the scenery looks great, but it's not exactly the visuals that are dull. The writing is kind of flat. The story, again, doesn't have that much momentum, and it just kind of fucks around for a while, and I feel like more could have been done with this film. It's all kept in this very enclosed town, and it's, for what they're going for, the landscapes look good, but that's about all it is going for in terms of the designs. The town just looks like any old town you've ever seen, because it's one of these old rundown towns with all these weird people, and it's just... I'm kind of sick of it. And, again, like, the story just seems copy and pasted from all these other cliches, especially one cliche that I called from the very beginning. So, the character of Alberto says that he lives with his father. He lives in this, like, tower-ish kind of thing. It's, like, a really short one with, like, top broken... So, he says he lives with his father, but his father isn't around much. The second he said that line, I knew the twist. His father's not here. At all. And sure enough, about an hour into the movie, we finally get that reveal, and... Is anybody fooled by this cliche anymore? Is anybody? Because I sure as hell wasn't. The second he said, he's not around here much. He's not here much. He's gone most of the time. I knew what it was. He's not around. I think it would have been better had his father actually been there as well. I know that they set it up to where Alberto goes to he basically moves in with Julia's dad, I guess, and he helps him with his fishing and stuff. So I didn't mind the ending to that. I did like how the story's wrapped up. But, man, I wish we had a better story to move it forward. And, the second something happens, you know where that's going to lead. You know what they're setting up. You know what the payoff of this is going to be. So so the movie overall is kind of predictable. It's kind of clumsy at times, and overall it's just kind of boring. But I will give credit. The story actually isn't as boring as it can be. It's not that bad of a story. The animation looks fantastic. The voice acting is good, and I do actually like these characters. Well, most of them. So I'm still gonna go fresh with this one. I'm gonna go with 3.2 out of 5. Job okay done, but as far as Pixar films go, this was kind of a letdown. Thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to hit that like button down below, hit that subscribe button for more reviews just like this, and comment down below what's your favorite Pixar film? Or what did you think of this movie? Was this your favorite Pixar film? I highly doubt that. But where would it rank in terms of your list? I may do a Pixar ranking soon, but for right now, that's all I've got for Luca, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.